Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think one of the things we do when we're building all of our games, we try and pull out references to what we think the game wants to play like, or be like, or feel like. And obviously, one of the benefits of working with Star Wars is you go back to one of the movies. What were the coolest moments? You try and put those in. What were the most amazing combat moves and the coolest characters? And so we can actually draw on all this stuff. And again, technology, as you noted, is at a stage now where there's a lot that we can do, a lot of latitude, a lot of stuff, cool stuff that we can build. And we're in a position where we can really make it feel just like an incredibly rich Star Wars experience. And the fact that we're doing it all voiced, and there are choices in the game, something new to the MMO space that there are branches within the game that you can take. And all these things in your own personal.
Both. Well, I guess both Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect as well, and Dragon Age are seem to be a mix of genres. Where Mass Effect 2 is sort of an action RPG shooter title.
Shooter RPG, yeah.
And Dragon Age is somewhat of an not an MMO, but of the same sort. Of the same sort.
Certainly feels expansive. It's single player, but the scope of it is pretty sick. It's like amazing.
And there's RTS elements, and how the tactics and the combat work actually are RTS elements.
So do you find
a lot of online activity too in terms of sort of the social networking and user tools for content creation? It's actually quite an amalgam, as you say.
Right. So the question is, do you find that the genre barrier is slowly breaking down? That it's no longer one thing. It's you have this game that has all these different elements to it.
Absolutely. I think we don't really even think in terms of genres anymore and how we build our games. I mean, we're known as building RPGs historically, but really now we view the RPG categories incredibly broad. Like it enables almost any kind of gameplay you want to put in. Because the way we look at it is like there's different kinds of player preferences. Some players are really into the story and narrative, and certainly BioWare is known for that. We have great characters. We also tell the story in different ways now. The way the world kind of it changes depending on what choices you make and the impact and consequences of your decisions. Like Dragon Age has great exploration, so does Mass Effect, so does the Old Republic. So you can be an explorer in those games. You get that sense of like awe and discovery as you feel like you're the first person traversing these new landscapes. Or combat, like you want to enable tactical depth of combat. It can be party based, or as in Dragon Age or Mass Effect, it can be multiplayer combat, as in the Old Republic. And then progression customization, we enable people to really make and handcraft their experience both on a personal level and what kind of equipment you get to bring with you and so on. Those elements together, we think of those as gameplay pillars. And yeah, they're core to the RPG experience, but they're actually true of many other kinds of games too. Great games, like you look at Grand Theft Auto, you could argue that has a lot of attributes of an RPG. And yet, it's not typically classified as one. But I think they're solving for similar things and heading in the same kind of spot that we're heading towards, maybe from different directions, but still the same kind of ultimate target of enabling players to play the game they want to play, make it their own, customize the character, their experience, have awesome combat, progression, exploration, and just make them feel like they're badass. Whatever universe they're in, it's aspirational fantasy, make them feel like they're whatever kind of hero they want to be.
I remember, early on in Mass Effect, we would have a discussion of just is Mass Effect it's almost a broader discussion than that. It's like, what should we call this game? It's clearly, not in line with the traditional perspective or perception of an RPG, but instead it was a very broad, very action-oriented title. And if anything, we've actually taken Mass Effect and made it broader. Mass Effect 2 is now even a better shooter, a strong shooter. So it's very, very interesting question, because we look at it and we don't really embrace it. Genre. We just make great games.
We try to make cool experiences that allow players to play through different types of gameplay.
With lots of story.
Yeah, with lots of story. And story that feels like it's seamlessly integrated into the experience. So when you play Mass Effect 2, as an example, shooter fans are going crazy internally in the office on this.
It's actually here at E3 now.
And at E3, because we're showing at E3, and we're getting feedback that this is like a tight, precise shooter experience with awesome AI, cover mechanics, and over-the-top weaponry, and lock frame rate, 30 frames. It's tight. It really feels good. And yet, it's so much more. It's got like progression mechanics, exploration. You're in a whole galaxy to explore, uncharted worlds off the beaten path. It's got a great story. better than in Mass Effect 1, interrupt functions like characterization that's that much more detailed and emotionally engaging narrative. What is that exactly? Is that a shooter that's just like on steroids, or is it an RPG that's like amazingly amazingly intense with a great combat system? Well, really, it's both. And frankly, all I know is it's a game I want to play.
We're pretty platform agnostic at BioWare. We focus on making the best possible games, and a lot of times that's also tuning it to platforms. So certainly all the motion controls and all the interesting ways of breaking down that barrier between the player and the game that we revealed this year just totally opens up all kinds of possibilities. I mean, as far as are we working on all kinds of crazy things? Yes, we're always exploring new things and ways to control the game. Hey, we got our first iPhone game, Mass Effect Galaxy, coming out.
In fact, I have a copy of
it in his pocket.
In my pocket.
Come out pretty soon.
Cool.
So, we're pretty open to new platforms. We're always exploring them, trying to find out, what's the best kind of game for that kind of format. Certainly the tile stuff and the motion wands. Hey, even the old Wii controller. Those are all things that are pretty cool.
The key is every platform has a different audience, and that's really exciting because what we focus on is taking our core competencies in digital acting and rich, deep worlds you want to be exploring in community and online integration. That's some of the areas that we really think we have a passion for and trying to really advance in state of the art. And you think about how can you deploy those kinds of things on different platforms in exciting new ways. Like if you're going to make an iPhone game that has a rich story and inside of the Mass Effect universe is one example, like what would it look like and what would the fans want to play? So we're trying to make something that they get really excited by. Same is true on 360 or PS3 Dragon Age. You want to make that awesome. And what's a PS3 Dragon Age player going to want to experience? Well, you think about it differently than, say, a PC fan might, but they both got to be satisfied because they're all important constituents for us and very important consumers. All platforms are.
Probably have to get rolling.